Hello and welcome to another episode of Froch on Fighting with me, Carl the Cobra Froch. You've been sending loads of questions in. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
So we're going to start with the Smith-Eubank rematch. What do you make of that rematch between Smith and Eubank Jr?
Well, there was a rematch clause after their first fight that's now been executed by Chris Eubank Jr. I'm not surprised because he did get he got beaten quite badly, but he's since said that he had a few problems in the build-up. But the main thing really for me was, if I'm going to make an excuse for Chris Eubank Jr., he was in training for the Conor Benn fight. So he had a 3-month camp for that, and that was down at 157, 157 pounds, which is just under 11 stone, just under the light middleweight limit. So having a 3-month camp and draining yourself and then mentally coming to terms with the fact that that fight's now off, so there's no Conor Benn fight, he's now got to change and train for a different opponent in Liam Smith, who's a totally different prospect because he's experienced at world level. Liam Smith, good fighter, as we saw when he fought Chris Eubank Jr. I just think for Eubank Jr. to adjust mentally and stay in camp, in total he had a 6-month training camp. Now, I don't think you can overtrain personally. You know, physiologically, I don't think you can overtrain, but you can under-rest. And I think Chris Eubank Jr. was under-rested. He come down to 157, so he was a bit weight drained at that weight, but then he's back up at 160 fighting Liam Smith. He had another 3-month camp. So 6 months in total training, straight in for a big fight with Liam Smith. And I don't know, he got caught quite early and his legs were gone. And then Liam Smith, being the great fighter that he is he's a very experienced fighter and he knows how to box, comes from a boxing family, the Smith family, and he believes in himself. He's just a good all-round technician. And he just finished off Eubank Jr. So I can understand why Eubank Jr. wants to try and right that wrong. But let me tell you something, this is a must-win fight for Chris Eubank Jr. If he loses this immediate rematch to Liam Smith and he gets beaten in a similar fashion to which he lost in the first one, KO El Sparko, Stylo, gone, because he was gone and there was no coming back for him. If that happens to him again, for me, if I was fighting and that happened to me, I would hang the gloves up. This is potentially a career-ending fight for Chris Eubank Jr., most definitely. If I'm totally honest, seeing what I saw in the first fight, I will think that Liam Smith does the job again. I mean, Liam Smith told us time and time again, told everybody, not many believed him, that he was going to do the job. Not only was he going to do the job on Eubank Jr., he was going to knock him out. And that's exactly what he did. So how can you doubt Liam Smith now in the rematch? You can make a couple of excuses for Eubank, overtrained, maybe not motivated because the Conor Benn fight didn't happen, but he still got in there, Liam Smith, and he did the job against Eubank Jr. And he did a fantastic job and got him done and dusted. And that's why I think in a rematch, if Eubank doesn't win, it could be curtains on his career. I think the Conor Benn fight will always still be there. If that fight gets made, there's still going to be some interest. Chris Eubank Jr. fought Billy Joe Saunders for a title. He also fought George Groves and he's fought Liam Smith. 3 of his biggest fights, really, he's been found wanting. He's lost. I know he's got a win against James DeGale, but James DeGale was not a world champion at the time, and he was quite finished. I have rated James DeGale for his career, very skillful Olympic champion, but I don't think he was a very good pro. I don't think he was a dedicated pro. So, albeit a good win for Eubank Jr., not really something to shout and scream from the rooftops about. So his 3 biggest fights, Chris Eubank Jr. has been found wanting, and he's not quite at the races at that level. So I think a rematch with Liam Smith, to answer your question, you know I was going to get there. I just think that it goes the same way, and I think Liam Smith does the job on him and probably stops him again.
You just said there that this could be the end of Chris Eubank Jr.'s career if he loses. Sounds a bit harsh. Why do you think that?
Why do I think that? Well, he got so badly beaten in the first fight with Liam Smith. He looked gone. He almost looked finished. He's got no punch resistance. So if he loses in a similar fashion, for me, he's got nowhere to go. That's the end of him. And I spoke to Baz from Boxer earlier today, and he gave me a couple of reasons around Chris Eubank. I don't know if you can remember, but there was the whole carry-on with the elbow. Liam Smith clipped him with the elbow, and Eubank was on about putting a complaint in and trying to, I don't know if he was trying to get the decision overturned or whatever. I mean, it's ridiculous. This is boxing. You get hit with heads, you get hit with low blows sometimes, elbows go in. If I complained every time I got over an elbow or a head or a low blow, then I'd have never had a career, because this is boxing, it's fighting, it's hard, and elbows do hit you in the head and in the face. It happens. If the referee don't think there's been an infringement of the rules, it doesn't matter. But there was the elbow that did catch him, the left hook. And if that did hurt him and daze him a little bit, maybe there's a little excuse. He was overtrained. He was training for 157, 157 pounds, just below the 11 stone limit, which is what this rematch is made at Liam Smith. So he may have been a bit weight drained, and I do think he was under-rested from the 6-month training camp. He's now back in Las Vegas, training with Roy Jones. So he's back where he wants to be, and he's solely focused on Liam Smith. He knows what to expect with Liam Smith. He knows what Liam Smith's got. He knows how good he is. He's been in there with him. He was shell-shocked. He got caught, but now he's got something to gauge. I don't think he had any respect in the first one. He was like, this is an easy fight. This is a mismatch. He had his KFC jacket on and said he was eating what he wanted. Well, this time he's going to be training properly. He's not going to be in his head thinking this is an easy fight. Whether he thought it was easy or not, he was still alluding towards that. So I do think part of him would have been thinking this is an easy fight for me. Let's not forget, I mentioned it earlier, but he's been in with George Groves, and he's a 12-stone fighter, and he's a big, strong 12-stone fighter. Billy Joe Saunders was a good middleweight. He beat James DeGale. You know, this is a guy, he's sparred numerous rounds with me, Chris Eubank Jr. has, and I've hit him with big shots. All right, big 16-ounce gloves and head guard, but he's a tough guy, really, really tough. So if he trained properly and he's dedicated for this rematch with Liam Smith and he believes in himself, and he still loses in such a bad fashion, then I don't think he's got a career in professional boxing. I personally think it's the end for him. The only caveat to that would be the fight with Conor Benn. Because it's the Ben Eubank name, I think that will always be a big fight. People are always going to want to see that. But that aside, I think Chris Eubank Jr.'s career is pretty much over if he loses to Liam Smith. And actually, before I talk about the Garcia Davis fight and just break it down a little bit, I just want to mention Joe Cordina. What a great fight that was. He got clipped by Rakimov early on. His legs were dipped. He looked hurt, and he stayed in there, kept believing in himself, and the fight was a decision fight, split decision, which I don't agree with. One of the judges had it 116, 112, or 113, whatever that was. That was ridiculous. Joe Cordina is potentially one of the best fighters we've got in Britain. He's definitely up there with the top 3, top 4 fighters in the country. He needs a lot of credit. He's world champion again. Well done to him and his team. Tony Sims, well done to you. Brilliant fighter. Onwards and upwards from here. Right, Garcia Davis. What a fight. Ryan Garcia went for it early on. I think round 2 it was. He went for it. And he didn't go for the finish, but he was on Gervonta Davis. He was putting shots together, body, head, backing him up. Davis was nice and tight, just slipping, moving his guard, getting his feet, got brilliant balance. He's a big puncher. He was looking for the shot, and he found it in round 2. He found that counter punch that dropped Garcia with a counter punch under immense pressure. Great shot. Garcia goes down, takes his 8 count, goes back to his corner, comes out fighting. I think round 3, round 4, round 5, it was close, tit for tat, not much happening. But in round 7, Gervonta Davis got to him and smashed him around that body. I think if that fight happens in a rematch, I just think Gervonta Davis is too good for him. The only excuse, if you like, that I'll make for Ryan Garcia is that he took some weight off. He did come down to a catch weight, and maybe that affected him. That was maybe a reason towards when he got hit and hurt to the body. The reason he stayed hurt is because he took a bit of weight off. But I'm going to talk about me. This is my show. This is Froch on Fighting. I got hit to the body by Mikel Kessler. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I flew under the volcanic ash cloud to go over to Denmark in Herning and had a 12-round war, which I lost to Mikel Kessler. I was weight drained. For the first time in my career, I took weight off. I sat in a hot bath. I drained myself. I didn't drink. I jumped on the scales on the Friday morning. I was like a boiled chicken on them scales. I felt terrible. I felt like I'd got the flu. I was weak and tired and drawn. And I got hit with body shots. I didn't go down. If I did go down, I would have got back up. Unless you put one on the chin and knock me out, which I don't think can be done, I ain't going out. I'm going out on my shield. I'm fighting to the very bitter end. You're going to have to take me out that ring on a stretcher. Otherwise, I'm not going anywhere. As far as I'm concerned, if you stay down to a body shot and you haven't got broken ribs, which he didn't because he was walking around giving hugs and handshakes to people after, if you go down to a body shot, you've got to get off the canvas. Stand up, take your licks, go out on your shield. Don't stay down to a body shot. If you do, you quit. For me, Ryan Garcia quit. It's not good enough. You've got to stay in there. You've got to climb off the canvas. Let me tell you something. I've been hit with numerous body shots in numerous world title fights. You can't breathe. You get hit in the stomach, in the solar plexus. It's almost like your diaphragm cramps up. It paralyzes you. You try and breathe. You can't breathe in. You're breathing in. If anyone does cold water therapy and jumps in an ice bath, you can't breathe in there either. You have to concentrate, focus, and relax your breathing, as Wim Hof says, and just focus. When you're in the ring and you've got somebody coming at you and you're body shotted, Glenkov Johnson hit with a body shot, even with 2 body shots in that fight that I felt. I've been hit with numerous body shots in numerous world title fights. You have to hold your breath. You can't breathe, hold your breath. Might take 10 seconds, it might take 15 seconds. Move your legs, move. Get out of harm's way. If you do have to go down and take a knee, you know you've lost that round 10-8. You give yourself a chance of surviving. Because if you get hit again, you get hit on the chin, you get knocked out, you'd have wished you took the knee. So take the knee, take the breather, lose the round 10-8, live to fight another round and potentially give yourself a chance of winning that fight. But that's my mindset. That's my warrior mentality. So that's why I say Garcia quit. Listen, 4-time world champion. Cobra. Listen, it's not about me. Well, it is. But let's leave it there. So that's been another episode of Froch on Fighting. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe. What I'm going to be doing next week is, because you're all asking for guests. I know, listen, I love talking down the camera. I love talking about what's happening in boxing and giving my opinion. But it's always good when you get a guest on. I loved it with George Groves. And I've got some special guests lined up. Actually, I want to get Eddie Hearn on. So Eddie, if you're watching this, get yourself on my channel. You know you want to. And have a good old chat. Pick the phone up. Don't look at it and go, oh, and then put it back in your pocket. No, you don't do that, actually. You always pick the phone up when I ring you. Fair play to you. And someone else I'm going to get on, Robert McCracken. Listen, he's my guy. Me and Robert McCracken, my whole career. No messing around. No changing trainers. No excuses. No bitching and moaning. It's when fighting was proper fighting. Back to the old school. Listen, I like to put myself in the old school category. Bernard Hopkins was the end of a dying breed. He really was. Leonard Hagler, Duran, all them fighters. I just think I could have mixed it in an era. You tell me if you think I'm wrong. Tell me if you think I'm talking nonsense. But I'll tell you what, I know I'm not, because I belong with that old school breed of fighters. No complaints, no bitching and moaning. Get in there, get the job done. Try your best. Go out on your shield, warrior style. Anyway, I'm going to get Rob on. He doesn't do interviews, but I'm an exception to the rule, the Cobra. We've got some serious history together. We've got some great stories. We're going to have a good chit chat, a good chin wag.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, thanks for that. About our career. It's going to be amazing. Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next week.